Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Anthony,
And I'm Brianna.
and this is another week in politics, and it's been a good one.
Has it?
I don't know.
I don't
It
think
wasn't
so.
as busy as last week. We definitely had a
Yeah,
lot to
no.
talk about, and some that we didn't really talk about that we ended up pushing over to this week, which we're gonna start with on the first one. So it was kind of towards the end of last week. It was technically last weekend, right? That this
Yeah.
popped up, or Sunday. Um, and it's basically the changing of the definition of the assault rifle.
The Merriam-Webster's
Yeah,
online dictionary.
Okay, yeah, which is probably one of the most popular
That's what
used.
Google uses.
Correct, and probably what most people, especially
Yeah.
with gun control, and that would research, since everything we do now is on Google and through Google. So I'm gonna start with
Our
reading.
overlords.
Yes, our overlords. So I'm gonna start with the definition,
The new.
the new definition of Merriam-Webster's, and it is a noun, in case y'all were wondering.
Thank you.
All right, so it's a noun. Any of various intermediate range magazine fed military rifles, such as the AK-47, that can be set for automatic or semi-automatic fire. Also, a rifle that resembles a military assault rifle but is designed to allow semi-automatic fire, which at the beginning, before we started this episode, it was brought to our attention is the critical piece,
Yeah.
because
That resembles. So
'Cause
any rifle with that has black plastic is now an assault rifle.
yeah,
Woo. So a big scary black plastic is the determining factor now.
yeah, and I mean the first part of it kind of makes it, not true, but then that where it says also, anything that resembles it is where it gets iffy. And so what's the big deal with this? I think it's
broadening the term assault rifle to encompass all other, civilian magazine fed rifles, essentially.
correct, and it also gives grounds to the gun control movement and all
Of
that
course.
to try to possibly push.
See, they are assault weapons. They are.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, you got like all these activists going out, and now they're gonna be like, well, according to Merriam-Webster, they won't even say that. They'll just say, well, according to the dictionary, the true thing is that it is an automatic weapon and whatnot, or that this is the reason why, and then it'll push, and then hopefully it doesn't go to court, and then they try to use that bullshit.
Well, see, that's the saving grace in all of this is law definition is not necessarily our dictionary definition.
Urban definition. Well, that's a good thing. But the bad thing is you're going to have all these people Googling it, which is what we do, and then all of a sudden it's going to change people's persona on it, and perspective, sorry. And possibly persona. I don't know. But anything else?
All right, let's go back down to the high school level
I
words.
barely made it out, okay. All right, so is there anything else that this pushes towards, whether our freedoms,
The thing about this,
thoughts of it?
The thing about this was, it wasn't like it was voted on. That's how they got this definition change. People went and voted on fucking Twitter or whatever for this definition, which is just, that's what irritates me, is it's not even like backed by anything now. It's just, we can change definitions by a Twitter poll.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm pretty sure I'm not 100% sure, but I mean, most of it is just like, whether it's probably, especially now, is just, like you said, it's the online version of it, and which is most of it is now, is just people just voting for it on an online poll or something, whether it's Twitter or they get more popularity and they're like, all right, this is what we're going to change it. I mean, I think there's stuff in there too, like swag, dab, all that stuff that's actually a word now, according to Merriam-Webster's dictionary and whatnot. So, I mean, it is, I think the big thing is it's going to change. Like, people are going to Google this and like, oh, well, it is an assault rifle and whatnot, which accordingly is not.
Yeah, no.
Or technically it's not.
Accordance in this new definition, it is. But I don't think any of, like, I think law definitions vary from state to state as well. And I think there are a few states that are using a similar definition for their law. But we don't have to worry about that here in Texas.
No, it's definitely pro second, pro guns, pro I shoot you if you come on my property.
Castle rights.
Yeah, castle rights. AKA castle rights. AKA castle rights. AKA I will shoot you if you get on my property.
It's in my house.
Or in my house. Or
in my vehicle.
Or if you have like your residence, if it's fully fenced, as long as you cross that border and the person so chooses and you're trespassing, which you technically are if you don't have permission, you are really I'm just joking.
I'm sorry.
Mine went off last time too.
Yeah.
But going back to it, you could technically shoot them, but that's not the point. So, any closing thoughts on this topic?
It's this war of semantics, and it's going to be used to just silence any opposing viewpoints of the mainstream narrative of guns are bad and okay.
Exactly. Yeah, the big for all you pro second guys out there, legally it can't really, because that's how I thought too. Legally, it can't imply on the courts. So
it's more of
not
a social thing right now.
Yes. What's the big problem now is not only are you already dealing with these gun control guys,
gun grabbers.
I forgot the movement.
March for Our Life.
Well, that was the march. Anyways, all these guys going against gun control is going to give them more ammunition, no pun intended, to basically make this well, according to the dictionary, I can already see this bullshit happening.
Well, according to the dictionary.
Well, according to the dictionary, it is a fucking assault rifle. And so we're going to have to deal with that. And it's going to basically make their heads a lot bigger and a bigger foot in their arguments, and that they are actually right.
They're not right.
Yeah.
The whole gun debate pisses me off because, one, the numbers they use for gun violence are inflated by suicide, which I think is like 62% of all gun incidents are suicide. And that's just it's used to inflate the numbers to make it look like the problem is bigger. And second of all, they never differentiate between rifle fire and handgun fire, because if they did, they'd be having to go after handguns versus rifles, which are a very small percentage of the gun violence.
Yeah, that it doesn't look good on the big news media or on their blog post. That actually grabs the attention and gets people sharing, which is what they want.
Yeah. Clickbait.
Yep, clickbait. All right, number 2.
What is number 2?
FOSTA.
Oh, we're going to FOSTA.
Yep. So the next one we got for you, I am not too familiar with, but it's going over FOSTA. FOSTA, correct?
Yep.
And what is that exactly for people like me that don't know?
FOSTA is the Fight Online Sex Trafficking Act.
Okay. And what is that? Implies a bill?
It is, yeah.
It's a bill. So what does that bill do, Brianna? Or what is it trying to do? It
will hold the tech company liable for any solicitation that their users do. So, say you're a prostitute and you're on Facebook and you find your John and you type out, okay, this is how much, and John's like, okay, I'm willing, let's meet up. It is Facebook is now liable for that transaction as well. They're held legally liable.
Oh wow! So it's not just the person actually doing the prostitution.
Or the John, it's the tech company who they're using to solicit business out of. Which basically means that all of your social media will have to hawkeye every interaction of every user. So this whole metadata that Zuckerberg's in trouble for now
Mm-hmm.
is going to be just absolutely nothing in comparison
Yeah.
for what they'll be required by law to do.
Yeah. And I think one of the big thing, like especially that most people know, is that Backpage.com was actually seized by the Fed, and everyone, I mean, it's kind of like an even more classified version of Craigslist, from what I understand. But it was definitely a huge, I guess, advertising for prostitution, and most people didn't know about that.
I didn't know about that. I've
Yeah,
never
I mean-
even heard of it.
I mean, I'm an electrician, so I hear it all the time, like as a
What
joke or not. Like it's like, oh yeah, I found a girl on Backpage. It's kind of like, you know, people meeting up on Tinder, but it's actually purposely prostitution.
It's Tinder, but the Craigslist version.
It's the Craigslist version of Tinder. Yeah, I don't think there's an app for it, but yeah, they got seized for this, and I'm sure probably you're saying even the web hosting companies
Yeah,
do
the
it. So the
web hosting.
people that host these websites even get in trouble too
Yeah.
now, which.
Or they're going to.
So does this mean that with this law, a lot of companies are going to be a lot more vigilant on what they do and trying to crack down, or maybe not even allow you to
our
do certain
privacy is
stuff?
going to go out the window. It's everything we post will be in a databank somewhere, just like with Zuckerberg. But instead of selling it off to companies for profit, it's going straight to the fucking government.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Do you think that this is? Do you think this is mainly like a money thing for the government, and or like kind of like getting away from our privacy, or
I think
maybe
it's more
our
of a-
freedom?
It's more of an attack on our privacy, in my opinion. It's one of those. It's good intention. Oh, we want to stop sex trafficking. Well, that's nice. Well, all you're going to do is push these.
Companies.
Well, not the companies,
The
the
hosts.
actual prostitutes, and
Oh, okay.
to the deep web, which is even harder to trace.
Yes.
Apparently.
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with the deep web, but I mean everybody knows what kind of situations go on there. I mean, pretty much anything illegal goes on the deep web for the most part. So
Okay, the Onion server, which is right, Onion and Hornet.
Onion,
What's the other one?
Tor.
Tor.
oh, TOR, yes.
Yeah. They're just. It's Microsoft or Windows 97.
Nice.
Classic.
Classic.
It's harder to trace. It's
Mm-hmm.
the under level that you can find just about anything on. It's you can find like blogs and stuff. It's random doomsday stuff. The doomsday stuff is fun. Weird videos. The deep web is not scary. You know, I mean,
There is some scary stuff on there, like what was it? I think there was actually some that I read. I don't know if it's true, but there was some like what was it? Child trafficking that people were buying on there.
I'm
That's
sure
pretty
that,
scary.
Yeah, but
If you want to check it out, Some Ordinary Gamer's YouTube page does deep web browsing. There's over 100 of them. That'll give you a good taste of what's on there.
yeah.
Yep. Thank you, Casey. All right. So I think we're going down a rabbit hole here. So
Yeah.
you want to sum this up? So what's your sum up of this or your takeaway?
This is moral grandstanding by our Congress. Look, we're doing something good, but we're taking away your privacy.
Yeah, like I think this is one of those, like I guess one of the big stuff. Like I think right now is the tariff and the border, and I think that's the big news. And this is the bullshit that goes underlined that we always hear about. There's always something that goes on when something big's going on, and this is sneaking under our noses. And like you said, it's an attack of privacy. And what was it? First was the net neutrality thing, which kind of seemed like the start. Like it didn't seem like there was a possibility, but there was still that doubt that is anything going to happen, and now it's progressing to this bullshit. So I mean, I don't think it'll be the last thing that we see now. I mean, so we'll have to keep an eye on that, and hopefully y'all keep an eye on that as well to make sure you whether it's your representatives or speak your own mind or your freedom while we can. I mean, I'm sure it's going to be there for a while, but if we keep this bullshit up, it's eventually going to be taken away from us, or it's going to be not taken away from us, it's just going to be restricted, and we can't do it as freely.
Well,
as the internet allows us. Right. Yeah. As the internet allows us to do it. So we can still do it, it just can't be on these, like, Facebook, Twitter, and all that, so... Because I think Twitter's taking down some posts and all that too, so that's pretty bullshit. I mean, considering they opened it to do it, but so that's it for that. So that wraps it up. So moving on to the next one is the continued battle over the U.S. and Chinese tariff war or trade war. So pretty much, this battle has been going on for a week or two now, intensely, like back and forth, like slinging it, like U.S. throws something, China throws something, Trump doubles down, China doubles down.
Well,
right back.
Yeah,
it's like a poker game right now.
First, Trump put tariffs on steel and aluminum for China and several other countries that I can't remember right now, but it wasn't just China. Well, China retaliated by putting tariffs on pork and other I think they've talked about, I don't know if they've done soybeans yet, but I think they've talked about that, and the other products that a few other of the big products they get from us. And I just see this continuing to escalate. The problem with this is Trump is screwing himself over because this hurts middle America. The pig farmers are really going to have a hard time because the majority of our pork actually does get exported. And he chose a losing battle, in my opinion. We don't make enough aluminum to sustain ourselves. So I don't think that was the best product to go after. Yeah. But I understand why he did it. He promised, the steel workers and...
Yeah, that was a big campaign.
Yeah, that was a big campaign
like verbal, like the wall. Yeah. That was one of his big ones was U.S. Steel. U.S. Steel. Get more jobs for U.S. Steel.
Yeah, but we can't sustain our usage by ourselves, so...
I mean, we were already having a tough time as it is, and now China's maybe calling our bluff, or just...
Oh, they're definitely calling our bluff.
Whether it's a bluff or just Trump just putting it in there not knowing how to play. I mean, he's a business guy, but to me this seems like an ego thing, or maybe just one of his campaign promises. But to go into it, it's not just when we say U.S. Steel, this is actually the stuff that they proposed. There's $50 billion worth of Chinese products, including flat screen TVs, medical devices, aircraft parts, and batteries. And that was the stuff that it was $50 billion, and China did the $50 billion with what Brianna was talking about, with the pork and possibly the steel too, with the U.S. Steel as well, which kind of counteracts what Trump's trying to do and all that.
He's hurting his voting base.
Correct. Yeah, he's trying to go what he was doing, but it's not only hurting the base now, but his voting, which I think it's already hurting, but it's also hurting the American jobs, and are basically, like you said, is just calling the bluff on what Trump's trying to do.
Well, we've got two sides that both think they're in the right. Trump sees himself as protecting the working rights of the American people. China saw the tariffs as an act of aggression, and they are countering that act to protect their own people.
Correct. And they could probably afford to do that too, because they already have a big exporting and all that stuff too. And with China being a big consumer as well with our products, we're going to have to sell it to that tariffs, and people are going to have to take the hit. But I think got anything else to say? You want to go ahead and wrap this one up, or?
Well, I'm against taxes, and so I'm against tariffs, because tariffs are taxes. I really think this is essentially the same as when Trump was saying Mexico's going to pay for the wall. No, Mexico's not going to pay for the wall. We're going to pay for the wall because the taxes will just be put back on to the consumers. That price difference, and so it's going to hurt a lot of people.
Yeah. I think I'm the same way with you. The tariffs, it's technically already shown that it's not going to work. China's not going to falter. Mm-hmm. I mean, they can hold this shit out for a long time if they have to. They've been taking a hit on many countries' economies with their low, or I forgot the technical term of it, but with their trades and their imports and exporting with their products and how cheap they can do it and how it affects the world renown.
But 2 billion people.
Yeah, but I think another big thing, I think the big takeaway for me on this is the possibility of our political, or with Canada and Mexico, with the NAFTA, getting NAFTA moving a lot quicker with this stuff, which would maybe help. I don't know. We'll see, depending on how they go about with the NAFTA, whether they revise it correctly or even worse, or if they completely get rid of it 100%.
I don't see NAFTA going away.
I don't think so. It's going to be revised and someone's going to have to make a deal. It's going to give a give and take kind of thing, I believe.
I think we have a much better chance of success with Trudeau versus...
Yeah.
Because he's a pussy.
The little potato.
The little potato. Alrighty. So with that wrapped up, it leads to our last thing on our agenda, which is basically Trump calling the National Guard to the border, and specifically the Mexican border.
Yeah, this is a bad idea.
Why is it a bad idea, Brie?
Oh, because it's going to be seen as an act of aggression to Mexico.
Yeah, and it's technically a military force,
correct?
Yeah,
it's a military force, so we are militarizing our borders. Mm-hmm. And that is not good for negotiations and treaties with Mexico.
Yeah, it's kind of like what back in the day with Cuba, with us putting warships right outside.
Yeah.
You know, it's just basically like pulling your gun out at the poker table, going back to that sucker. But I think
bad Trump. This is a bad Trump week, in my opinion.
There's been a lot of negative, or
just
everything's always negative
just
in
bad
politics
decisions.
For the most part. But yeah, it's bad decision, especially on Trump.
Yeah, the Republicans and Trump need to get their shit together.
Where do you see this going? Because I think it's technically, from what I read, it's 150 National Guard troops going to the border in Arizona. I believe it's only in Arizona. Don't quote me on that, but it's going somewhere in the border. It's not spread across.
To block this caravan of just like massive thousands of people who are just like making their way up from South America to come to the United States. And I really don't know why. I don't know. They're clearly not going about it the legal route, but
the immigrating to the country.
It's just this huge like caravan of people just making their way up, walking, riding,
just coming straight through like it's nothing, huh?
Yeah.
Which kind of goes against the whole immigration.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, well, the country is built on immigration, but now we have laws against or how to be immigrated and whatnot. But how do you see it going in the future? Do you think that he's going to put more forces? It's going to be a big problem. Mexico is going to, same thing with China. They're going to put 150 soldiers. It's going to be like a North and South Korean border. What's it going to be?
Oh God, I hope not.
I don't think so.
I'm just waiting to see what's happening. I don't even know if they're actually going to put the National Guard there.
Yes, they haven't deployed them or anything yet.
Yeah,
or they haven't stocked up.
It's just in talks right now.
I'm pretty sure we'll be seeing like CNN and everybody posted there, seeing the National Guard just sitting there shoulder to shoulder on this little section of 150 people. You know. Yep.
Yeah, so
that's it.
That's this week.
Well, that's it, guys, for this week. And pardon our politics. Until next week, we will see you.
Bye.